Edward here from earviewer.com. I have another video for you. This is part 2 of 4 of a 4-part project that I recently completed with a gentleman out of the UK by the name of Stuart Edwards. He reached out to me to see if I'd be willing to work a target. I said okay. The target turned into a 4-part project that had many different very interesting things that came through, experiences that I had during this project. The way the project was set up was very interesting. And you'll see some more of the interesting factors of that in video number 3, as well as the nature of the target, which was an idea, an invention idea that he had that was partially real and partially an idea, real being DNA, the idea being a way to create, put a marker or identifiable marker within an individual's DNA. That was the idea for the invention. Very cool thing. And so this was part 2, after Stuart had seen the first video, there were a few things in there that he asked me if I'd be willing to explore more. We call this retasking or doing some movements. These are things that are based on something that came through in a previous session. So he asked me if I'd be willing to explore blind and pattern. Those were the 2 things that he asked me if I could go a little bit deeper into. I said sure, no problem. As I was moving through the idea of blind, I was coming into some emotion words, and some emotions were coming through of stupid and ignorant, and they were really emotionally based. And I drew a person who was kind of pointing a finger, saying stupid and that kind of thing. And I identified the person as being Asian, which is interesting to the project because the submission was for a class at the University of Kyoto in Japan. This was something that afterwards, when I got the feedback and the whole thing was over, and I was watching over the videos again, and I remember that part, and so I wanted to figure out what was going on with that. So I asked him, and I sent him a message saying that he was that somebody he could recognize from the course, who was that kind of hostile like that, stupid and that kind of thing. And he replied that there was someone in the class who thought that his invention, his idea, was in fact stupid, and called it that and used those words. He could not verify the nationality of the person, so he didn't know if they were Japanese or maybe they were somebody from a different country. But again, it's very interesting in that it's something that about remote viewing that I find interesting, which is that not only am I looking to get the actual target itself, and in this case it's DNA marker, that's the actual target, but I tend to want to get some peripheral things too that are associated with the target. And in this one, here's something that came through that is encompassed within the experience of creating the idea and then submitting the idea and then having it reviewed by his peers and with one specific person calling it stupid, that kind of thing. Those are the things that are interesting to me because it's a rounded view of an experience, or what the target, the nature of the target. It's a rounded experience of the target within time and space, and that's why that part of it is really interesting to me. But as I was exploring the blind and pattern, all that, pattern was bringing me into codes and blueprints and all these things. As I'm getting closer into the ideas of DNA and that kind of thing, and kind of drawing, my sketches were getting me closer. Where in the first one it looks kind of like I'm coming upon the DNA molecule, and in this one I'm moving in further into that and getting closer into the DNA strands themselves, and kind of starting to feel them more. And the idea of stamping came through, which is like the marker, the DNA marker, or stamping something in. The ideas are starting to come through, which led on to what would be asked for me to continue on into sessions 3 and 4. So those things were really interesting. What you'll also see in this video is where you get to see how I remote view, or the expression that comes through for me in my remote viewing. Remote viewing for me isn't just some data gathering tool or whatever. It's a form of self-expression. It's my art. Just like Ingo Swann viewed remote viewing as an art form, I agree with him, and I apply that within my remote viewing. So my sessions and my videos are my art pieces. So they're my music, they're my songs, they're my paintings, they're abstract, expressionist paintings. They are beat poetry for me. And within that, there is a touch of madness that comes through within the art itself. And it's a part of my own expression that I don't deny. I create the environment for it, and I use remote viewing as a way to express this artistic expression, this artistic passion that comes through in my art like this. So you'll see that in this, and you'll see more of it in 2 and 3 as well. I mean, so in 3 and 4. So that's what this video is about. So I hope you enjoy this one as well, and 3 and 4 will be out soon. Zero 60215. Round, flat, dense, tubular, large, open, curving, chemical, metallic, edged, smooth, white. Getting a random thought here of a beach. A beach. Sloping. Bright. Moving. Moist. Edged. Again, I'm getting this word clean. Clean or sterile. Zero 6. Zero 60215. 060215. Angular. Wide, outside, dimpled, clinging, tight, close, curving, white, brown, black, green, yellow. Random thoughts again here, mountain. Straight, brown, black, curved. This pattern thing here. This pattern. I mean, this is kind of something in my mind, but it's so generic. It's very generic. But it kind of, it's almost like this kind of factor. Like a 3 or 4 dimensional, 3 or 4 dimensional. It's like black, silver, whites. Get this idea here of basic, basic, basic. Let me try to get some of these ideas out here. Just some of these kind of things in my mind. This kind of this idea, sparkly, somehow in here. Something like that. Something along those lines. Green. Slippery. Edge. This kind of feels kind of like this is on top and this is below. Kind of feeling shiny. So I'm getting this call this like an AOL of the signal here, but it's like a glass table, like a glass table. Zero 60215. 060215. Focused inside, bright yellow. I'm getting this words coming in here of stamping. Stamping. Put this over here. Or this may also be related to pattern, but stamping. 060215. 060215. Green, blue, washing. Again, I'm going to in, around, flat, dense, tubular, large, long, green. Getting these other frightening, feeling, well, I get a slight hint of that. 060215. 060215. Zero six zero two one five 060215. This is more like a random thought here. Lightning, heat, power, charged, glowing. These are coming from this idea of lightning, but some of these descriptors, it's like a mini stage 5 of lightning. Blind. Getting ideas here like ignorant. Lack of knowledge, ignorant, blind being ignorant? Why is that? I don't understand that. What's that all about? What do you mean ignorant? Blind, ignorant. Not seeing. Not seeing. Okay, like this is more. This is very EI of intolerant. A person kind of angry. Intolerant person. Kind of pointing a finger. Ignorant. That kind of thing. But I want to use this person to get behind this idea of blind. Who is this guy? Who's this guy? Why does he feel this way? Why that way? Get the idea of like an Asian. But ignorant, why feel that way though? Blind. I'm getting like stupid. These are like emotional judgments, Stupid, ignorant, blind. But I want to get beyond the emotional aspect. What is he referring to? Let me move on that. What is he referring to now? What is he referring to? What are you referring to? Who is blind? Who is stupid? What is the ignorance about? Then we'll move on that. What is it about? What is it about? Kevin feels angry. Angry. What is the ignorance about, though? What is the ignorance about? I'm gonna do a sensory dump just to get this thing moving here. It's lodged below the threshold. 060215. 060215. 060215. Zero 060215. Edged, looping, calling, outside, inside, dense, superficial, surface, something about surface, superficial, blind, inside, around, 060215, 60215, close, vertical, angular, large, moving, close, angular. What is that? What is this? What is that? What's the nature of that? Getting an AOL here of random, well, this is more like memory comparison, but total random of a prison. What is this? What is that though? What is going on here? Is this what the ignorance is about? What is this referring to? Sensory dump. Zero 060215. 60215. Round, flat, big, open, long, angular, large, close, green, blue, white, stale, metallic, vertical, horizontal, metallic, it's metallic, some type of metal, metallic, inside, edged, green, looping, around, close, green, this idea again, simple, focused, simple, bright, narrow, blind, stamping, blind, I'm gonna stage 5 on pattern and blind. Pattern, emanations, objects. Pattern, emanations, objects. Objects that are pattern like paintings. Patterns that are pattern machine, like cylinders. Fences. A fence has a pattern. Grids. Grids have patterns. What other objects have patterns? Like vases or a vase. That has patterns on it. What else has patterns? Patterns. What else has patterns on it? What else has a pattern? Grids have patterns. Streets are patterned. Streets and cities have patterns on them. Those things have patterns. What are the attributes of a pattern, or similarities? They're micro and macro. They fit together. A pattern does. It's a representation. What are the other attributes of a pattern? They fit together. They're small and they're large. Patterns do. They're a language. A pattern is a language. It's telling you something. A pattern does. A pattern tells you something. A pattern is like a trail. You follow it. Follow the pattern. Follow the pattern. It's like a trail. It's like a road. A pattern is a pattern. It's like a highway. Like that, a pattern. So like that, but not like that. It's not like that. What else? Pattern. Emanations of topics. What topics do we talk about? We talk about pattern. We talk about fractals. That's it. We talk about fractals. What else do we talk about in patterns? We talk about art. We talk about language. Again, we talk about the language of patterns. We talk about pinpointing. Pinpointing something specifics. Specifics come from patterns. Recognition comes from patterns. Recognition comes from patterns. Patterns that you can see. Patterns that you can see. What is the pattern, though? What is the pattern? The pattern is related to the blind. Pattern and the blind. Pattern, what else? Things that you can see, recognition. Patterns are recognition software. You can recognize things through patterns. You can find things through patterns. You can find things through patterns. You can lead to things by patterns. Patterns will lead you somewhere. Patterns are specific. What pattern? What is the pattern that I can't see then? Describe the pattern that I cannot see. Describe the pattern. Describe the pattern. Long, angular, large, outside, in, around. What else? What else? Describe the pattern. It's angular. Angular. It's fixed. What else is the pattern? It's angular. It's fixed. It's boxy. Boxy. Soft. Semi-hard. Hard. What else? Describing the pattern. What is this pattern? Describe the pattern. Describe the pattern, the pattern, the pattern, the pattern. What else is that? It's long, tubular. What else? What else about the pattern? What else about the pattern? It's like a representation. Representation of what, though? What is it representing? The pattern. I mean, I'm getting the kind of language. Well, what is the language? Describe the language, though. You know, like genetic code. Patterns are codes. They're codes. They're languages. Languages. Patterns are codes and they're languages. What is the pattern? But what is the code? What does it represent? What is it representing? What is it representing? What is it representing, though? Language, genetic code, representation, pattern, angular, is fixed. It's fixed. It's fixed. What else is it? What is it representing? The pattern. What code? What language? What is it representing? What does it represent? The pattern. Diagnosis. What does that mean, diagnosis? A diagnosis is a theory. Diagnosis is a theory. I think it's something. A diagnosis is what is it else? It's an idea. What else is the pattern? A pattern is representing an idea, a theory or an idea. It's representing, a pattern is representing a theory or an idea of what? Of what? A theory or an idea. Pattern is representing a theory or an idea. What does it mean? What does that mean? What's that code? What does that mean? What does that mean? Pattern represents what? A theory, an idea, the pattern? Code, a language? A theory, an idea of what? Theory of what? I'm getting like light, spectrum, that kind of thing. Light spectrums, patterns, waves, that kind of thing. What else? Theory, an idea, waves, patterns, structures, patterns, waves, wave structures. What is it representing, though? What? These are things, though. What does it represent? What would the pattern represent? Can't represent light. It means something else. Blueprints. Blueprints. Blueprints of what? What is it representing? What is it diagnosing? What is it? Fixed theory, idea, diagnosis, representing pattern, a pattern. A blueprint of what? What was it representing? What is it representing? Blocks. Blocks of what? Blocks. Blocks. Blocks of what? Time. Distance. These are ideas coming through. Blocks, times, theories. Blocks, blocks of time. Blocks of time. Blocks, patterns. Patterns, patterns. Specifics, specifics. Blocks. Blocks, patterns. Differences. Differences. Representing a pattern. Okay. Right. All right, that's all I can do right now.